Hey guys! Today's video is going to be about what you need to know before heading off to college. To preface, I just finished my freshman year at Baylor. I feel like I learned a lot through my first year, so I figured I'd share some basic knowledge, maybe some tips and tricks about how to prepare for your first year. So the first thing I want to talk about is academics, and I would say that there probably is not a very big difference in terms of difficulty between high school classes and college level classes, especially if you took like advanced placement or dual credit classes. I feel like those definitely help prepare you. So if you are like a sophomore or junior in high school right now, I definitely recommend those, even if you think they're gonna be really hard. And I say that as someone who didn't study all the time in high school and was still able to do pretty well. I also want to mention that as someone who did take AP classes, we didn't write or read a whole lot. I mean, we read a couple books and we would write papers for like a test or something. And I think that some dual credit classes actually wrote a lot more than I did, because this past semester I took a writing class and we had to write a 3,000 word essay, and that was like the biggest essay I've ever written. And it wasn't that bad, honestly. I mean, I chose a topic that I actually really enjoyed, which helps a lot. And I've heard that dual credit classes, they write a lot more, and because I had a couple friends who did it, so that will probably prepare you for those type of classes. But if you take AP, be a little bit more prepared to read and write more than you did in high school. Now, in terms of studying, I am not a pre-med major or one of those like super high up like needs to study like every single day. But I will say for some of the general education classes like history or English, and then if you're at a Christian college like I am, you're gonna have to take a couple Christian classes, which basically just like go through the Bible and history of Christianity. Because I would say so far, classes that I have taken that I needed to actually study for like more than just 30 minutes or an hour would be political science, English, and all the Christian classes. I mean, for me, I am not a fan of those type of classes where you're just like given so much information and you're like, okay, now study this. And then I'm like, bruh. Because then you don't know what's gonna be on the test. And I mean, and in college, they're highly unlikely gonna give you a study guide. For my political science class, they actually gave us a list of different cases or topics that were discussed and could possibly be on the test, but it was up to you to have the information about those topics. I mean, I didn't really study like every day or throughout the week. I would study maybe like 3 days prior. Okay, so now that you've actually gotten into college, first of all, congrats. But I would say the first thing that you're probably gonna be handling is your class schedule. And in most cases, you'll be set up with an advisor, and they'll be able to take you through everything and like figure out how to work the system that your school uses to sign up for classes. So don't stress about like what you're gonna take and when you're gonna take it, because you know the advisor will help you like with common classes that most freshmen do, and maybe some of the best ways to get these classes out of the way so that you can start focusing on these classes. This advisor is going to help you figure out which classes to take, but they're not going to tell you when to take it and which professor to choose. You're going to want to try to pick a professor that is most suitable for your type of learning. And you can do this on different websites. And for example, there is a very common one called Rate My Professor, and a lot of people put comments under them, but it's worth the time to look up the professor and like how well they do and how they structure their class, because different professors do different things. Some professors will give you like 3 tests and like 20 quizzes, and other professors will only do the midterm and the final and have a quiz every so often. It varies. And looking up reviews like that, you can tell what their structure might look like. Not always, but sometimes they'll give you that information. So the next thing that's gonna happen is that once you sign up for your classes, your professors are gonna have a syllabus. And I highly recommend to look at that syllabus. And I know a lot of people say that, so I'm just gonna reiterate it. It can mention things such as their grading scale, and they also give you test dates and quiz dates and assignment due dates. I recommend that you get a planner and write down at least the test dates so that you know how far in advance you need to start studying. I mean, I have a ton of friends who don't have a planner and they are doing just fine. So you don't have to. But for me, it worked well for me to have a planner, And then I also wrote out my class schedule in my phone, either in your notes app or even like in your calendar, so that you have it every single day. Also on the syllabus, the professor will probably list some of the textbooks or materials that you'll need for the class, and you can find these textbooks through your school's bookstore. But I would hold off on getting the textbooks until your first day of class, because they'll often go over the syllabus and you'll figure out what you actually need and what you actually don't need. Because sometimes they list materials that are optional. Like I had one recent class where the professor listed, I think, 4 different textbooks, and I waited until the day of class and I actually only needed to get 2 of them. And also, the bookstores often charge more than you should probably pay for the textbooks. So if you can, try to get those textbooks through a different website like eBay or Amazon or some kind of thrift store. Like I even got like a set of English textbooks from Poshmark, which is like a clothing thrift shop. So, I mean, you can literally find stuff like that anywhere. But if you can't find a book that's cheaper than the bookstore's listing, then I recommend trying to rent your textbooks, because it's a lot cheaper and then you don't have to worry about like where to store the book or like having to sell the book again. Okay, so now that you're in the class using the books that your professor required, some classes you might find difficult. And if you do not hesitate to reach out to them, maybe email them, or just show up to their office hours. I mean, you could probably email them and sign up for a time for their office hours, because if it's a big class of more than like 100 kids, there are going to be many other students that want to do the same thing. But going to college is honestly a privilege. The professors are a gift, and you need to be able to use them and their knowledge so that you can excel in your classes. And I remember I went to one of my professors' office hours once, and I was just like, do you have any study tips? Because like I do not really know how to study properly. It's definitely beneficial. They can help you as much as they can. I mean, they're not perfect, we're not perfect, so you can't expect too much of them, but I definitely think that they will help you in the long run. Now, when it comes to grades and your GPA, I wouldn't stress about it too much, especially if you're not planning on going to grad school, because even if you get C's, you'll still graduate. As long as you don't fail your classes, you'll still get the degree. And I'm not trying to say that so that people will start slacking off and getting only C's, because you definitely want to strive for like A's and like high B's, because it looks good on resumes to make like the dean's list, for example. But if you are struggling and you genuinely are trying your best, do not stress if you get like a couple C's here and there, because in the future, people aren't gonna look at, oh, you got a 76 on this. No, they're gonna know that you worked hard and earned that degree. Something else you shouldn't worry about though is what major you want. Some people know exactly what they want to do straight out of high school, or maybe even in high school. But then others, you know, they might not know what they want to do. And a lot of people fill out their college applications undecided because they have no idea what they want to do. And that's okay. You'll figure out what you want to do in the future. It's gonna be fine. And whenever you do it that way, you can easily get your gen eds out of the way. And some of those gen eds will maybe influence you, and you'll be able to notice what maybe you're more interested in, and that will help you decide. And for me, when I was in high school, I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. I was like, let's go. Like,
I got the brains, I can do it all. Got steady hands, it's all good.
But I also had a passion for music, and it's hard to decide. Anyways, whatever you choose in the long run, you'll be fine and you'll do great in school as long as you work hard and actually try. You can't be worried about the future too much, because, you know, everything's in God's hands. So whatever we end up doing, He knows that that's the best for us. That's my 2 cents. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is the living situations in college. So majority of the time, your freshman year, you'll have to live in a dorm. This isn't the case for every college, but it definitely was the case at Baylor. They require you to live on the dorm and pay for a meal plan. Now at Baylor, those 2 things were kind of expensive. So living in an apartment off campus and buying your own food is gonna make a huge difference. And I can talk about that more in a later video when I actually experience that, because I'm going to get an apartment this coming up year. So basically, there are going to be a ton of different dorms around campus, and there are different styles of dorms that you can end up in. There are communal dorms, which is where you'll have to share a bathroom. And depending on where you are, the rooms could be bigger or smaller. And I don't have a lot of experience with communal bathrooms because I didn't live in one, because I didn't really want to live in one, because they're kind of, in my opinion. And I mean, they're a lot cheaper, so like you could go that way, but they're also kind of gross sometimes if you don't like clean up after yourself. I'm not dirty though, don't get that idea. But I remember from summer camps, I have been in a couple different communal bathroom situations, and there were 4 rooms, and each room had 2 bedrooms, and then there was 1 bathroom that all 4 of those rooms shared. And I mean, honestly, that's fine because you're only sharing with 8 people. So really, you're only sharing a shower with like 4 people, which kind of equals to whenever you have a suite, I think they're a suite, which would be probably the next option. Whenever you have a bedroom here and a bedroom here, and it's like 2 people and 2 people, and then you share a bathroom in the middle. That's probably the equivalent, it's just doubled. The fraction equals out there. But yeah, honestly, I think that situation is the most ideal. I honestly would have really preferred that because I get to live with someone, because I'm very much like a people person. Alone time is always good, but I prefer being with a person. I don't know if that's good or bad. Don't analyze that. For me, I actually had a room to myself, and let me just say I was in one of the nicest dorms on campus, and that means that it was probably one of the most expensive ones, which was kind of annoying, but it was the music dorm, so I was like, oh, like I'll meet some music people and it'll be all cool. So I mean, it ended up working out and it's fine. But anyway, so my dorm situation looked like 4 individual bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. So I only shared a bathroom with 1 other person, which is actually really nice because we were able to keep it pretty clean. And we also all shared a living room space, which is really cool too, because then we could like watch TV together or play like video games or something. And then there was also a little table so we could eat sometimes, and we would often have roomy dinners, and it was cute. So if you're wondering what to bring for your dorms, I can make a separate video about that. In terms of what you need to bring for your bathroom, don't bring too much. Like literally only bring the stuff that you are currently using at your house. I think shower necessities that you will probably need, especially if you're in a communal bathroom. I know a lot of people get shower caddies and shower shoes because it can be a little dirty and like you're sharing with a lot of people, so you don't want to get like athlete's foot fungus, I don't even know. And I know that some people actually end up getting a robe because like having to like hold the towel, you know, and like walking out, you're like, ah. There are lots of other things that you could get too. I don't know like a ton of them off the top of my head, but if you do need more advice on what to get, I definitely recommend joining Facebook. I know a lot of people are being like, what? Facebook is for old people. Like, I love Facebook. I don't care what anyone says. And when I say don't bring a lot of stuff for your bathroom, the same goes for your actual room. I made the mistake of bringing too many clothes. Like I watched a couple videos before and they were like, don't bring clothes that you don't already wear. And I was like, okay, like that makes sense. But I still brought like 5 or 6 or 7, maybe 8, I don't know, shirts that I didn't wear because I was like, oh, well, I'm gonna have events to go to and I'm definitely gonna wear this. But honestly, a lot of people just wear like comfortable clothes. Like some people even wear pajamas to school. But I feel like the only time that I really dressed up was for church. If you're one of those people that likes getting dressed, go for it. Bring your clothes that you want. But I don't think people should bring too many clothes that they're not gonna wear. Next is social life. So the first people that you're probably gonna meet when you go to college are your roommates. Get to know them. Get to know them. Literally, I walked into my dorm and all my roommates were there. And I was like, oh, hi, I'm Kaitlyn. Nice to meet you. Hello. But you're gonna be seeing them every single day. I definitely would recommend that you get to know your roommates, become friends with them, and your college experience will be a lot better. It's like a literal, here's a friend. Take advantage of this opportunity to make a friend. Friends are one of the best parts of college, so make them. Another thing I will say about friends is that it requires more effort. I mean, of course, you're gonna make friends automatically, probably within your major, because you're gonna be seeing those guys every day. But when I say that making friends requires a little bit more effort, that just means that you need to reach out to them more. Some people are shy and they're not gonna be as out there trying to reach out to you. And if y'all end up not being friends, then that's okay. There are so many other people to be friends with. Another really good way to make friends though is by joining a club or an organization. Like if you join a running club, majority of the people in that club enjoy running. So then y'all can bond over that, talk while you run and just get to know people. It's just another perfect avenue for you to build more friendships. Okay, so once you make friends, or at least you're kind of like in the process of making friends, you might be invited to parties or social gatherings or just events, and I just want to make it clear that it is okay to say no. You don't have to do anything that you don't want to. Personally, I haven't really experienced a whole lot of parties. I was invited to one or two, but I actually didn't go to either of them because I didn't want to put myself in a situation where I had to say no to things like alcohol. No judgment if you do drink, and if you do those kind of things, I just want to say be safe and responsible because life is important. Speaking of alcohol, look at this dog toy. Next on the list, time management. In college, it said that your free time like skyrockets, and that's honestly pretty true. The main difference once you get into college is that you are in control of your life now. There's no straight 8-hour school days, and your parents aren't there to make sure that you eat properly and that you get to your classes on time. Like, you have to do all that on your own. When I got to college, I was like, oh, I'm waking up and I'm heading out the door. Like, it don't matter what I look like, I'm just going. But I think it's actually fun, becoming more mature, having responsibilities. So for music majors, I have some tips for y'all. First, you're gonna find that you're not gonna have a whole lot of time in the day because you're gonna have a ton of classes. You're gonna have to find some time to fit in practicing. And honestly, like in the beginning, it's kind of hard. So I recommend that you plan out those practice times, at least in the beginning, so that you can make it a habit. And you can also do this for like when you need to eat too. Another thing is that you should prepare yourself to have lack of motivation sometimes. You could already be experiencing this in high school, but since no one is really pushing you to practice more and more, your professor might, but some professors are a little bit more lenient, so they want you to be able to handle all that stuff on your own and become more of a matured adult. I will admit I did experience this, not all the time, but time would pass a little bit. Like when I got back to my dorm to rest, I would just be like, oh, I don't want to make that walk, I already need to study, I don't have much more time. And then other times I would get a ton of motivation at like 11 or 12 at night, and I would end up being done at like 1 to 2 a.m. I mean, I got the practice in, so that's cool. But if you have 8 a.m.s, this is probably really bad for you to do. Because, you know, sleep is also really important. But as I experienced music life in college, I can definitely make a video about different tips and tricks and some advice on how to do well. Now, I've only finished my freshman year of college, so I'm not a complete expert yet, but so far I do believe it to be true that these are some of the best years of your life, so I am very excited. But anyways, I hope this information was really helpful. And to all you incoming freshmen, I hope y'all have a smooth transition and an amazing first year. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. Toodles!